How long before you suppose they start calling this shit Babygate? Let's do this. You know, you'd think someone who calls himself Rational Roundtable would have been a bit more rational about this. Let's have a look.
Now, there are some interesting counter-arguments that I've heard, and of course these go back as far as the whole babies are atheists thing, which is ideas like, well, if atheism is simply a lack of belief, then, you know, anything that lacks a belief in God is an atheist. That tree is an atheist. The camera I'm recording with is an atheist.
And in the strictest, most pedantic and technical sense, yeah, all that's true. We just don't talk about it because it's pretty much irrelevant to the equation since they're inanimate objects. But if you want to be as pedantic as possible, yeah, atheists, because they lack belief. That's simple.
Now, am I trying to put forth this as a counter-argument to BionicDance? Not at all.
Which, believe me, I appreciate. I'm sure a lot of people do. Thank you. No, that's genuine. I'm not being sarcastic. Seriously, thank you.
I happen to think that the entire argument is silly. It's completely meaningless because it doesn't matter if babies are atheists or not. What matters is whether or not atheism or theism is a more accurate worldview based on reality.
But the fact is that defining atheism is still a problem. There are plenty of people out there who insist that atheism has to be something that it's not. This is where the babies thing always comes up, because when I say that atheism is a lack of belief in God and not explicit disbelief in God, the religious always show up and go, so then are babies atheists? And like you just said, are plants atheists, or cameras atheists, and all of that stuff. But the truth is that if we were to assert that there is no God, and we have no evidence to show that, then we are just as bad as the theists, which I believe is their goal. Their whole point is to make our side look at least as bad as theirs, if not more ridiculous, by saying that our claim is just as unsupported as theirs, that ours is a faith claim instead of a fact claim. And that tactic should not be allowed to happen, should not be allowed to work. And we don't allow it to work by defining ourselves in a correct and proper way, namely that we will not operate from a faith position. I mean, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll realize that what I am against the most is faith, is belief without proof. Come on, anyone who's watched, 5 of my videos has heard that multiple times already. And that's why I define atheism as a lack of belief in God. We are unconvinced. We are not asserting God does not exist. We are asserting that we see no reason to believe in God, that we cannot have a positive belief in this deity. I mean, I think of myself as a blank slate. Well, not exactly a blank slate. I mean, obviously, I have facts that I've seen, facts that I've looked at. So really, my conclusion is a blank slate. And I fill it up with knowledge, I fill it up with evidence and reason and all of that stuff, and I come to a conclusion based on what I'm able to find out. And the truth is that the evidence does not support the existence of a deity, therefore I do not believe. I don't actively disbelieve because I leave the door open for new facts, for new evidence. I just won't be convinced by faith or feelings. That's it. And it's the same thing with these babies that theists try to claim are not atheists. They try to claim that because babies don't have the knowledge of what a God is to be able to make an explicit decision. And I'm saying an explicit decision is not necessary. All that's necessary is lacking belief. That's where the baby argument comes in. This is not literally about babies, not really. Babies are a mutant side topic in all of this. They really are. They're an excuse the theists are making.
If I were still an atheist, this would be the last argument that I would use, because this all boils down to the idea that atheism is the default position. Now, what is a default position? A default position is simply the position without action. And so this literally means that atheism, according to BionicDance's video, is the position one can take without any type of conscious thought.
Well, yes, actually. I mean, the choices are believe in God, don't believe in God. That's it. Those are the only possibilities. Either you believe or you don't. And if you don't believe, there are many ways to come to that lack of belief. You can look at the evidence very specifically and say to yourself, no, not convinced. Or you can never get any evidence in the first place and never make the yes, God exists decision. So atheism, yeah, default position. It makes perfect sense. I don't see what the fight is about. I really don't.
That means, by implication, that theism is a position one can only take by thinking. Is this really what you want to portray as an argument in favor of your particular worldview? That your worldview requires no thought whatsoever, while the other people's worldview does, and therefore our worldview is better?
Do you really think I'm going to be swayed by an emotional argument like this? Oh no, it's possible to hold my position without actually thinking about it. Oh, gee, we must all be dumbasses, huh? No, it doesn't work like that, and I'm not going to be shamed into taking a different position. The emotional argument, fail. Okay, you see, the truth is that it works like this. There are two possible positions. You believe in God or you don't. Now, the fact that believing in God requires an explicit decision does not make it rational, does not make it reasonable, does not make it fact-based, does not make it better. The fact that atheists can be a default position, people who are not thinking at all, but are just in this position because they have not made the explicit decision to be theists, doesn't bother me, and it shouldn't bother anybody else. The fact is that, yes, you can be an atheist by making an explicit, logic-based, evidence-based decision. Of course you can, but it's not required. It's not necessary. This does not shame me in the least. This does not change my position in the least, and it shouldn't change the position of anybody else. Your emotional argument fails.
I don't know. If this is what we're going to argue about from now on, I quit.
Please take the time to rate this video. And hey, if you dig what I do, subscribe. You might also enjoy my webcomic, The Adventures of Kinneara Baxter. You'll find a link in the info bar, along with a link to my Zazzle store. Buy a t-shirt today. Help control the religious population. Have your theist spayed or neutered.